Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of PHT TV. I'm super excited for today's topic as it has been a long time since we've talked about tubes. The last and maybe the only tube amp that we've actually covered here is the Carry SLI 80HS. If you haven't seen that episode, make sure you go back and check it out. We did use it on a ton of our heritage demos. Additionally, if you haven't seen it yet, go back and check out last week's video where we actually had a Zoom call with Fidelity Imports' Eric Smith. As I mentioned in the intro a couple weeks back, many of the items that we'll be covering, I'll be right there with you guys, seeing it for the first time, hearing it for the very first time laying my hands on these products. I feel this will give me a genuine opportunity to give first impressions on appearance as well as sound, and be there right with you guys through the whole discovery process. That said, I didn't want to go in completely blind, so before we dove deeper into these, I wanted to get with someone well versed on the product. Eric has a vast amount of knowledge on these, and it was really great to pick his brain. Now that said, we do have a ton to cover today, so no more delay. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Today's topic is going to be the English Acoustics 21C, and let's start off with a quote from the English Acoustics website. The English Acoustics Stereo 21C is a modern-day classic, exclusively British-made and notably benefiting from the finest transformers, along with a chassis that are both designed and manufactured in England. Inspired by our favorite British amplifiers, the 21C moves forward with a contemporary design and safety devices fitted throughout. This means that you can enjoy the warm sound that the 21C produces while feeling reassured that any potential risk has been considered and minimized. So essentially what that says to me is they take these classic design elements and they combine them with modern safety and standards in mind, creating kind of a perfect blend. Now, I think it's time that we get this guy out of the box because personally I've never seen it or laid hands on this piece, so I'm super excited to see what it can do. While I unbox, I'm going to go over some of the other features and specs for you. Transformer end cap CNC machine from Billet Aluminum CAD Designs, steel chassis with laser cut details, automotive grade paint finish available in any conceivable color, ceramic gold plated valve sockets, custom English manufactured fixings, point-to-point hand-wired valve sockets with lead-free silver solder, thermal vibration and tilt safety, cutout digital LCD hour meter, valve rectified 14 watt per channel ultra linear, less than 0.1% distortion, 12-month warranty, made in Britain certified. Instead of a standard instructions booklet, we actually have a QR code, so Stereo 21C instructions. Pull out your phone, open up your camera app, and you can scan it. And once you scan it, it directly downloads the manual to your phone or device. And there we have it, English Acoustics Instructions Manual. Always refer to this manual for the correct operating procedures whilst familiarizing yourself with the safety blah 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 blah. Please note that this amplifier is fitted with a tilt vibration sensor that will immediately cut off the power if the amplifier is knocked or moved while operating. If this happens, you must unplug from the power wall. Do not try and operate the amplifier for at least 10 minutes. Put on my white gloves here so I can make sure I don't get any of the oils or anything from my hands onto the tubes. I'm going to take off the top piece of foam here. The very dense foam material is what we're working with here. Some additional fuses that come in the box as well. Just giving you guys a hint of that custom robin's egg color here. And the big reveal. Here is our English Acoustics 21C. I'm going to get some of these boxes out of the way real quick. Now, the pictures do not do this thing justice. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful design, especially in this customizable color. I love that you can select any color to match whatever you want it to match. That is awesome. This color is called Robin's Egg Blue. Now, typically this is where I would say this amp comes in black, it comes in white, it comes in purple, brown, and so forth. But with this product, there are no limits to color. This amp will come in literally any color imaginable. There are 12 in-house colors, but beyond that, you can choose anything you want, hand-built to your liking. You want your amp to match your car, they've got you covered. You want it to match your school colors, they've got you covered. Me personally, I want one in safety orange, but I'm weird, so that's probably just me. Actually, the inserts that came in here, This is almost exactly the color that I would want it in. That would be awesome. So far we've talked about appearance and what it can do on paper. Now let's see what this thing can really do. I'm gonna hook it up to the Cornwalls that you see behind me, and let's get to listening. Now, as for power, I want to make sure that we are getting a very clean source of power. So I'm using the Surgex 1810 for our power source here. As for our preamp, we're going to use the Parasound P6 preamplifier. All right, so my source is going to come from my computer into the Parasound P6 preamplifier, from the P6 preamplifier into our English Acoustics 21C, from the English Acoustics 21C into the Cornwalls. And this is not a permanent installation, so I am not going to fret too much over appearance of running cables and everything here. And now that I have all of that lined up, I'm going to go ahead and power it up. Now that the tubes are starting to glow, we're going to let them warm up for a second. I'm going to flip around these cameras and we will do some listening tests. All right, so as mentioned before, my source is going to be the computer. The computer is going to take our sound to the Parasound P6 preamplifier. From the Parasound P6 preamplifier, we go to the English Acoustics Stereo 21C. From the Stereo 21C, we go out to the Cornwalls. And the Cornwalls are going to be what I'm using to test the 21C and give you guys my thoughts. As always, there's going to be some music that we can put on screen and some that we can't. I'm going to start with the music that we can put on screen. I'm going to start with the music that we can play with you guys. The test tracks that we've been utilizing, those Matt Summers tracks, the Dracon tracks, all of those. And then afterwards, I'm going to do I'm not going to shut off the cameras, but I'm going to have to mute it because those commercial tracks I unfortunately cannot put on YouTube or this video will be taken down. But I will include our PHT testing playlist in the description below. So if you want to check out some of those tracks and use them to test your system, you can. And then afterwards, I'm going to come back and give you guys a review and give you my thoughts on the English Acoustics 21C. Let's go ahead and get started with some Matt Summers Mycelium. That was Matt Summers Mycelium. So one thing that I want to mention outright is some of you guys that are used to seeing solid state specs, you're used to seeing, hey, you know, we want to have a amplifier that's 100 watts to power these Cornwalls. And you get kind of shied away when you see that the tube amplifier is listed at 14 watts. But when you're looking at this type of amp, when you're looking at this type of creation, this type of beast, especially when paired with something like the Heritage line, especially when paired with the Cornwalls, it is enough to blow you away. I wasn't hearing any distortion, and you can see on camera 3 back here that we are pushing it up to 100, 101 dB consistently without any issues. So I'm impressed. This thing sounds great. I'm ready to test out another track. More on the country side of things, let's try Trey Johnson, Bring My Baby Home.
Broken down heart, lost and alone. Somebody bring my baby back home. I said, somebody please, somebody please. Y'all, I'm on my knees, honey. Won't you come on home? Come on, baby. I said, I'm on my knees, honey. Won't you come back?
So that was Trey Johnson, Bring My Baby Home, and I felt like on that track we we get more of the warm vibe that you come to expect from a tube amp. One thing that I should note on the Parasound P6 is that I have not adjusted EQ at all. So essentially we're looking at flat across the board's highs, mids, lows. Thus far, I'm pretty impressed with how this unit reproduces sound. I have had several amps hooked up to Cornwalls, not just any Cornwalls, these specific Cornwalls. I've had several amps hooked up to them. A few different solid states, a couple different tubes, this one and the Carry SLI-80HS. I would honestly be curious to see how they do next to each other. I may in the future do a comparison of the Carry and this unit and see how they compare side by side. Let me know in the comments if that's something you guys would like to see. We may also do some tubes versus solid states to get an idea on what we like the best. But honestly, so far I'm super impressed with this unit. I'm gonna do one more track that we can actually let you guys listen to, and then I'm gonna move on to more studio recordings, the commercial recordings that I unfortunately can't display for you guys. And then after that, we're gonna come back and do a full review on this unit. So one more track, let's do some metal. Let's do Dracon, The Value of All. I'm really impressed listening throughout. This has been a great experience. Now, before I give a full-on review, before I tell you exactly all of my thoughts thus far, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave the cameras rolling, but you guys aren't going to be able to hear what we're listening to, so we'll probably put it in fast forward or I'll talk over the top of it. We're going to go through the PHT testing playlist, and I will link you guys below if you want to use this testing playlist for any of your systems at home. But it's all commercial music, so we won't be able to play it without getting the video banned. So let's go ahead and put some of those tracks on, and then I'll come back for a full review. So that song came out in the early 90s, 92, I want to say, is when that album came out. I have heard that on car stereos, I've heard that on headphones, I've heard that on super nice high-end systems, I've heard that in any way imaginable. And the reason that I like to listen to tracks like that is because until I got into really deeply listening, there were things that I hadn't heard in that specific song, little Easter eggs that artists have put in there, or maybe things that weren't intended to be heard that you hear anyways. It's just really amazing to again, after it's 92, so that is 30 years old. That song is 30 years old. And after 30 years of listening, you still hear subtle nuances in that song that you've never heard before. Let's test some low-end reproduction on this. This is actually one that Corey introduced me to for testing low-end. I didn't used to have this on my playlist, on my testing playlist, but we heard it when we were listening to the Jubilees, I believe, and I've added it to every testing session that I listen to. This is going to be Better Now by Post Malone. It can definitely handle reproducing those low frequencies. I felt my seat shaking. You guys may see the camera shaking throughout that one as well. I'm going to go back in post and review the camera shot and see if you guys can see it shaking, because that was pretty impressive. Let's see. That was Metallica, The Unforgiven. Another one that takes me back quite a ways there. Different components as we listen here. So this one's called Miracle by Churches. Let's move on to an oldie but goodie. Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. Dispatch the General. Let's do a Dire Straits, Your Latest Trick. The song is called Crystallize by Lindsey Sterling. Let's do some Kansas. I'm gonna do Carry On My Wayward Son. I can't stop. I said that was gonna be my last one, but I wanna listen to a couple more. Pearl Jam, Just Breathe. This one is another one somewhat more recently added to my playlist, Darling by Halsey. So, what do I think of English Acoustics Stereo 21C? I love it. It is a beautiful amp that sounds as good as it looks. And before you plug it in, before you turn it on, just the appearance alone makes it stand out. Then add the option to customize it to any color you want. It is perfection. I do like this Robin's Egg blue color Corey picked out. Again, personally, I'd order a safety orange version because, well, it'd be amazing. But I'm a little weird, so that is probably just me. The layout, the classic design, it makes it feel like a piece that you'll want to leave out and show off. And then we connect the source and fire it up and it'll blow you away. It has the classic warm sound you'd expect from a tube amp, but to the next level. Now, I'm testing it with Klipsch, and Klipsch, as we all know, is a very live sounding speaker. That said, this amp kind of gives even the digital recordings a more analog style sound, and it kind of makes you feel like you're either in the room with the artist recording or at the live show. Now, on the topic of using these with Cornwalls, I chose the Cornwalls because, as with all tube amps, they kind of prefer a more efficient speaker. And the Heritage line is just that. This amp is going to be super well suited for the Klipsch Heritage line. So, the main thing that you guys probably came to this video for, is this amp for you? Now, the first factor to consider with this is your environment. Me personally, I have 2 kids that when they see shiny new things, they want to explore. So here in the studio, it is awesome and I love it. That said, I'm probably not going to take this home because it wouldn't last a week in my house. Not only is it a concern for the product and potential damage to the product, but with the heat it produces, it could be a danger to its surroundings as well in the wrong hands. So, as mentioned in the manual earlier, you'll want to keep it in a place where kids, animals, anything or anyone that could potentially cause a problem will not be able to do so. So, if you're wanting to keep it out in the open and you have a toddler, maybe you want to consider another option. The next consideration is, what are you pairing it with? If you're looking to pair it with something super power hungry and crank it super loud or can't crank it to super high levels, you may want to consider other options. That said, if you love the design, but if you're looking for a bit more power, the new 41C is also an available option as well. It's the 21's big brother and it is completely customizable also. If you're a big fan of the Heritage line and want to pair it with a pair of Cornwalls like you see here, or something similar that is pretty efficient, it is perfect. It really does give that amazing blend of beautiful appearance, warm sound, and overall the great experience you're looking for when you're upgrading your components in your system. If you're in the market for a new amp and were skeptical before, don't hold back. Give Corey at Paducah Home Theater a call today and pick one of these guys up. You will not be at all disappointed. I think that's going to be about all I have for you today, guys. Again, this was the English Acoustics Stereo 21C. It's just one of the many great new products that Paducah Home Theater has to offer. We'll be covering more of these products in the future episodes, so if you haven't already, click that like button, click that subscribe button, stay up to date on these new releases as they come. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next week, we're going to get back on Zoom for another call with Eric Smith from Fidelity Imports to discuss another new addition to PHT's inventory. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again next week for another brand new episode of PHT TV.